Hello friends, myself Professor Sudeep Shah, you and all welcome to the Nauka Digital Institute. Friends, today we are going to discuss the revision test paper which is issued by ICAI for the May 21 attempt, and that is of the intermediate paper 1, that is the accounting. Friends, RTP always plays a big role in the preparation of the examination, and this is nothing but the all revisions of the different topics which are issued by the ICAI, and that what we are going to discuss and solve today. So first of all, we'll start with the question number 1, and that is from the financial statement of the companies, which is a very heavy topic and heavy not terms of understanding or learning the same, but in terms of marks. Yes, it's always give a big weightage in the examination. So friends, we are now discussing the question number 1, that is from the financial statement of the companies. OHM Limited has authorized capital of 50 lakhs divided into 5 lakh equity shares of 10 each. Their book shows the following balances as on 31st March 2021. First of all, we will read the balance sheet, that is of the OHM Limited. That is bank current account, cash in hand, calls in arrears, that is 2 rupees per share, equity share capital, trade payables, sales, rent, transfer. This is the nothing but the balances of the ledger, which we understand as a trial balance. Rent, transfer fees, profit and loss account, credit balance, repairs to building, bad debts. On the other side, inventory, that is opening, discounts, rebates allowed, carriage inward, purchase, rent, rates, taxes, insurance, furniture and fixtures, business expense, wages, freehold land, plant and machinery, engineering tools, trade receivables, advertisement expense, commission and brokerage, that is the expense. The inventory valued at cost or market, whichever is lower, as on 31st March 2021 was 7,05,000. Outstanding liabilities for wages is 25,000 and the business expense is 36,500. It was decided to transfer 10,000 to the reserves. If we read the further, charge depreciation on written down value on plant and machinery at 5%, engineering tools at 20% and furniture and fixture at 10%. Provide 25,000 as a doubtful debts for trade receivables and provide for income tax at 30%. It was decided to transfer 10,000 to the reserves. The third one, the most important, you are required to prepare the statement of P&L, that is on 31st March 2021 and balance sheet on the same date. So this is the very simple and straightforward sum where we need to prepare the statement of P&L and we also need to prepare the balance sheet on the same day. So first of all, we will try to understand the answer for the same, and it is already issued by the ICAI, so we should always understand the performa in which we need to write the answer. So first of all, this is the balance sheet starting with the shareholders fund. Yes, this is the shareholders fund. On the equity and liability, which is first share capital, as it is clearly mentioned in the question that 5 lakh equity shares of 10 each having the authorized capital of 50 lakhs, out of which 2 lakh shares have been issued, give you a 20 lakhs. And 1,95,000 shares have been subscribed, as on 5,000 we could not manage to get the call money, so it is 19,50,000 and subscribe but not fully paid up, that is 5,000 shares of 10 each, 8 paid up, and that comes to 40,000. So 10,000 call is still unpaid on the same. So our paid up capital is 19,90,000, which is shown over here, that is 19,90,000. So it's a very simple, you have to give all the details: authorized, issued, subscribed and paid up. Second one, friends, that is a reserves and surplus. As given in the question, we have a list of reserves starting with the general reserve given in a question 10,000. Opening balance of P&L account, that is statement of P&L 67,000, added with the profit of the year 3,15,000, and it is clearly mentioned in the adjustment that 10,000 to be transferred, so it is 3,72,000. So if we added with the reserve, it will be 3,82,000, and that will be a part of the balance sheet, and as you can see that is the part of the reserves and surplus. Now if we read the next one, current liabilities, here nothing to be mentioned in the notes to accounts, the reason we can directly put it, that is 2,40,500. Other current liabilities, yes, there is notes for the which 61,500, and other current liabilities includes that outstanding expense 25,000 added with 36,000. If you read the question, it is clearly written that there is outstanding expense and that is of 25,000 and added with the, yes, yes, it is clearly written over here. Yes, this is the outstanding liability for wages are 25,000. So the same is mentioned over here. 25,000 added with 36,500 comes to 61,500. Short-term provisions. This is the fourth notes to account, and short-term provision includes the provision for taxation, that is 1,35,000, and that should be a part of the balance sheet, and that is 1,35,000. So this is, friend, the liability side, which give you total of 28,09,000. Now we move to the asset side. First of all, non-current assets, which includes property, plant and equipments, and in which we have a detailed explanation, that is in the note 5, starting with the opening values given in a question, multiplied with the depreciation provided in a question. So we can get the depreciation value 37,500, 50,000 and 30,000. So we can have the now book value, or we can say a written down value, that is 730, 712, 135 and 120, which makes a total of 16,97,500, which should be placed over here, and that is nothing but the property, plant and equipments. On the current asset, inventories, no need to have any notes to accounts, you can directly write the same. Trade receivables, yes, there is some adjustment regarding the bad debts, so we go to the notes to account. Yes, 4 lakhs deducted with the provision for doubtful debts, which is clearly mentioned in the question. If you got the question, it is clearly mentioned that there should be, yes, provide 25,000 as a doubtful debts on a trade receivable. It is clearly mentioned over here, and that is what we have considered over here. Next is cash and cash equivalent, opening balance of cash added with the bank balance in the current account. So we can have a cash and cash equivalent. So we can also get the same total, that is 28,09,000 on the asset side. So this is the balance sheet. Now we move to the statement of P&L account. So now it's not a P&L account, but it's a statement of P&L rather of OHM Limited. Started with the revenue from operation 36,17,000. It is clearly mentioned in the question, that is sales 36,17,000, and other income, that is 36,500, and there is a annexure, that is in the notes to accounts number 8, that is the transfer fees added with the rental income will give you 36,500. Now the total revenue is 36,53,500 deducted with cost of purchase, which is given in a question, 12,32,000. If we find the difference between opening and closing inventory, then it will be 40,000. Employees benefit expense, that is 15,04,000. Yes, we can have a detailed explanation for the same, and which includes wages and outstanding wages. So 15,04,000 will be shown over here. Depreciation and amortization expense 82,500, and other expenses, that is 4,24,500. We can have also a notes to accounts for the same, and that is the 10th one. All the expenses starting with carriage, inward, discount, advertisement, rates, taxes, repairs, commission, miscellaneous, bad debts and provision for doubtful debts. If we make a total, it comes to 424,500, and which should be placed over here. Yes, that is 424,500. So we can get the total expense. If we deduct the same from the total revenue, we will have a balancing figure, and that is called a profit before tax. And 30% tax provision given in a question give 135,000. So profit for the period is 3,15,000, which we have already added into the, yes, reserve and surplus. This is so that we can get the final value of the reserve and surplus. So friends, this is a very simple and standard sum talking about how to prepare the statement of P&L and how to prepare the balance sheet. So this can be the sum which may be in the examination for at least 10 marks. You can easily prepare the same. Yes, you should have a good clarity about how to prepare the notes to accounts, and that what we have discussed. Now we move to the question 2. A, XYZ Limited having the inadequacy of profit in the year ending 31st March 2021, and it proposes to declare 10% dividend out of the general reserve. Yes, company is having inadequacy of profit in the year, and it is proposes to declare 10% out of the general reserve. From the following particular asset in the amount can be utilized from the general reserve according to the Companies Act, that is for the declaration of dividend out of reserve rules, which is given in the year 2014. The basic information regarding equity share capital is 50 lakhs, general reserve 25 lakhs, revaluation reserve 650, and net profit for the year is 142,500, which is not sufficient. Average rate of dividend in the last 5 years have been 12%, that is also provided in the question. So on the basis of this information, we need to justify whether the conditions are satisfied or not. So amount that can be drawn from reserve is 10% dividend on 50 lakhs. So profit which is available for the current year is 142,500, and the remaining amount, that is 357,500, which can be utilized from the reserve. So first of all, we need to check whether the condition to use that reserve is fulfilled or not. So condition as per the company's declaration of dividend and out of reserve rules, that is condition 1, since 10% is lower than the average rate of dividend, so 10% dividend can be declared. Yes, it is below the rate of dividend which is the average, number 1. Condition number 2, maximum that can be drawn from accumulated profit and reserve should not exceed 10% of paid up capital plus free reserves. Here you can see that the paid up capital is 50 lakhs and free reserves have 25 lakhs. So if you make a total, that will be 75 lakhs, and 10% of the same, that is 7,50,000, and this much amount is not utilized at the time of withdrawing the money from the reserve. So yes, condition 2 is also fulfilled. Condition number 3, the balance of reserve after drawing, that is 25 lakhs deducted with 357,500 that we need to withdraw from the reserve, should not below 15% of its paid up capital. Yes, if we see the 15% of paid up capital, it do not falls below that category, below that limit. So the balance of reserve is still more than 15% of the capital. So you can see that since all 3 conditions satisfied, the company can withdraw 357 from the accumulated reserve. So friends, we need to check all the 3 conditions. Number 1, it should not be more than the average rate of dividend which is company managed to give. Number 2, that is, yes, your paid up capital plus reserve, and out of that 10% should not exceed the amount that is drawn from the accumulated reserve. Here you can see that the paid up capital and reserve stood 75 lakhs and 10% comes to 750, and we are withdrawing 357. So this condition is also satisfied. And number 3, that 15% of paid up capital, that is the amount which is withdrawn, or the balance which is remain in the reserve should not be less than 15% of the paid up capital and reserve and surplus, and that what the condition is also satisfied. So yes, we can it pass from all the 3 parameters. So yes, company can go for such proposed dividend. Now we move to the question 2b. Mohit Limited provides the following information. As on 31st March 2021, authorized capital 1 crore, issued capital is 10 crore, that is preference share and equity shares, total is 11 crore. These are the authorized. Out of this, issued subscribed preference shares are 77,50,000 and equity shares are 4 crore 32 lakhs. Share suspense account is 90,000. Reserve and surplus, that is capital reserve 5 lakhs is revaluation reserve, that is 877,500. Out of this 5 lakhs is for the revaluation reserve. Securities payment 2,25,000. Secured loan includes debentures, that is 2 crore 92,50,000, unsecured loan, public deposit having 16,65,000, cash credit loan from SBI, that is short term 592,500, trade payables 50,52,500, and assets, that is investment in share, debenture, etc., that is huge amount 3,50,50,000, and profit and loss account, most important, debit balance, friends, and that is 68,50,000. This is the alarming that company is making a loss. Share suspense account represent application money received on and shares allotted of which is not yet made. You are required to compute effective capital as per the provision of Schedule 3 if the Mohit Limited is a non-investment company. This is also very interesting line. It's a non-investment company. Would you answer differ if Mohit Limited is an investment company? In both the situation we need to check the answer. So first of all we consider that yes, effective capital in both the case when the Mohit Limited is a non-investment and Mohit Limited is a investment company. Starting with paid up share capital, 77,500 preference shares come to 77,50,000 and equity shares comes to yes 4,32 lakhs. Added with capital reserve, as revaluation reserve is not added over here, securities premium, debentures and public deposit. You can see that here the total till this stage remains same, that is 8,24,67,500, but now onwards you will find the difference. First of all, if we consider is a non-investment company, then we need to add the investments and we need to include the investment and P&L debit balance, so we can get the, if we make a total of these deducted from the above calculation, we will have this amount, that is 4,05,67,500 is the effective capital. But if we consider as an investment company, no need to reduce the investment amount but only reduce the loss. So if we deduct the same, we will have this amount which is considered as a investment company. So the only difference is regarding to include the investment or not. Yes, if you are considering that company is a non-investment company, then you need to reduce that amount of investments and then only you can get the effective capital. But if you consider it as a investment company, then no need to reduce the same. Okay, now we move to the next one, and that is the cash flow statement. Yes, the next one is the cash flow. The following is the extract of balance sheet and the statement of P&L that is given in a question. First of all, we will read the balance sheet, and that is extract. Equity and liability, shareholders fund, share capital, that is current 500 and the previous is 200, the amount in 1000. Non-current liabilities, long-term bank loan, earlier 250, now nil. Current liabilities, in which trade payables earlier 3,047,000, now only 1,000. On the asset side, property, plant and equipments, that is 128, now 230, there is a rise. Trade receivables 4783, now reduced to 2,000. So that means a collection from the debtors, and cash equivalent from 35 to 212. This is the extract of the statement of P&L, that is the first of all expense side, in which that is employee benefit expense 25 earlier, now 69,000, other expense 110, now 115. On the tax side, current tax paid during there, that is 140, now 243. Share capital, if we find the notes to account, that is 200, now 500. Other expense, that is overheads 110 to 115. What we need to prepare is the cash flow statement of Supriya Limited for the year ended 31st March 2021 in accordance with AS3 revise. Using direct method, all transactions were done in cash only. There was no outstanding prepaid expenses as on 31st March 20 and 31st March 21, and ignore the depreciation. Dividend amounting 80,000 was paid during the year ended 31st March 2021. So this is what we need to prepare in this particular aspect, and that is the cash flow statement, and that is using the direct method. So friends, first of all, we'll start with the operating activities. As we know that starting with the cash received from the customers, cash payment to the suppliers is deducted, cash paid to the employees is also deducted, and other cash payment, that is for overheads. So we can find the cash flow from the operation is 552. Deducted with the income tax paid, yes, which is given in a question. So we can finally get the net cash flow from operating activity, and that is 309, which will be the answer. Okay, now the cash flow from investing activities. It is clearly, we can see that there is rise in the property, plant and equipment, that is nothing but the outflow of the cash. So it will be deducted, and so that we can get the net cash used in investing activity, that is outflow, that is 102. Now it's time to find the financial activity. You can see that share capital is increased from 200 to 500. It's a issue of shares. Bank loan is reduced, so it will be negative, and dividend is also paid, it's also negative. So we will have a net cash used in the financial activity, that is 30, and finally it gives the net increase in cash and cash equivalents, that is 177, added with the opening cash. So we will have the closing balance, that is the cash and cash equivalent at the end of the period, that is 212. So this is a very simple sum, friends, that is on the cash flow, where you need to follow the direct method as per the AS3, and where you need to bifurcate all the activities into 3 parts. That is, number 1, cash flow from operating activities. Second, cash flow from investing activities. And third, that is cash flow from financial activities. So we need to have this broad bifurcation to arrive the answer, and if we bifurcate the same, it become easy task for us to arrive to the final answer, and that is the cash flow from the different activity. So this is the question number 2, that is 3. Now we move to the first one is financial statement, and effective rate of capital is the second part, of 2A, and this 2B is cash flow. That is third one is the cash flow. To prepare the effective capital, that is of the investment and non-investment, that what we have already discussed. Now it's time to go with the question number 4, which is based on the profit prior to incorporation. A very interesting topic. You can also grab a good marks over here. Yes, first of all, Mega Limited was incorporated on 1st July 2020 to take over the running business of Messrs Happy from 1/4/2020. The accounts of the company were closed on 31st March 2021. The average monthly sales during the first 3 months of the year 2021 was twice the average monthly sales during each of the remaining 9 months. This is very interesting, friends. I repeat, the company is incorporated on 1/7, which take over the running business from 1/4. The accounts were closed on 31st March, and the interesting point is the average monthly sales during the first 3 months of the year, that is 2021, was twice the average monthly sales during the remaining 9 months. So first 3 months may be the season, and their sale is nearly twice than the remaining 9 months sales. You are required to compute the time ratio and sales ratio for the post incorporation and pre-incorporation period. That is very simple, friends. So for that we can have a simple solution. Our pre-incorporation period is 3 months. Our post-incorporation period is 9 months, as company is taken over from 1 July. So from 1 July to 31st March, it's a post-incorporation. So if you see the ratio is 1:3. So this is the answer of time ratio. And sales ratio, as you can see that the sales of the first 3 months is double than the sales of the remaining 9 months. So if we multiply 9x with the 6x, we can have the answer 2:3 is the sales ratio. The above is the time ratio. So in this way, friends, we can easily calculate the ratio between the two different variables. Okay, next is also from the same, the business carried out by Kamal under the name K was taken over as a running business, that is with effect from 1st April 2020 by Sanjana Limited, which was incorporated on 1st July 2020. The same set of books was continued since there was no change in the type of business, and the following particulars for the year ended 31st March 2021 were available. Starting with sales, that is from 1st July to 31st March and from 1st April to 30th June. That is prior period, and this is post incorporation. Total 50 is divided into 40 and 10. Selling expense, preliminary expense, return of salaries, director's fees, interest on capital, depreciation, rents, purchases. That is from 1st July to 31st March and 1st April to 30th June. Carriage inward, net profit. You are required to prepare the statement showing the amount of pre and post incorporation period and profits stating the basis of allocation of the expense. So we need to also judge the basis on which these expenses are allocated. So first of all, friends, we need to go with the working note. You can see that the pre and post incorporation sale is given, that is in the ratio of 1:4, and the time period, that is from 1st April to 30th June, 3 months is pre, and from 1st July to end, that is the post, 9 months. So this is the sales ratio and this is the time ratio. So first of all, we'll prepare the statement showing calculation of profit and loss account, that is in pre and post incorporation period of profit for the year ended 31st March, starting with the sales, which is already given. Purchase is also given. Carriage inward is always based, that is, yes, this is on the basis of the, yes, this is on the basis of the purchase, as we have already calculated. Now we have a gross profit, as we have deducted sales with the purchases and purchase related expenses. So we will have a gross profit deducted with the selling expense on the sales ratio. And then we need to deduct preliminary expense, which is always a part of post. Salaries on the time basis, director fees always post. Interest on capital, that is always a part of pre. Depreciation is on the basis of time, and rent is also a time factor. So we can have a total expense. If we deduct it from the gross profit, what we have already calculated, we will get the difference between the pre-incorporation profit and net profit, which is nothing but the post-incorporation. So friends, in this way we can easily calculate, that is the, yes, that is the pre and post incorporation profit in this particular part, and that is on the basis of the time ratio and sales ratio. So this is what the very simple sum regarding the profit prior to incorporation. Now we moving to the next one, that is accounting for bonus issue. Yes, following is the information of Umesh Limited as at 31st March 2021. Paper 1, what we are discussing, in which the authorized capital is given, preference shares, equity shares, authorized capital is also given 40 lakhs, issued and subscribed capital, that is preference 240 and equity 24 lakhs, general reserve, that is 360, CRR is given over here 120, security premium, which is most important word, is collected in cash, and P&L account, and that is 6 lakhs. On 1st April 2021, the company has made a final call of 2 each, that is 3 lakh equity shares. The call money was received by 20th April 2021. Thereafter, company decided to capitalize its reserve by way of bonus at the rate of 1 share of every 4 shares held For every 4 share you are allowed 1 bonus shares. You are required to pass the necessary journal entries. Friends, very easy sum that what we are now going to solve. So first of all, equity share capital, final call, that is to make it fully paid up, 6 lakhs, that is 3 lakhs into 2, and that is also received. The entry will be bank to equity share, final call. Now it's time to issue the bonus. So first of all, the ratio is 4:1. So for every 3 lakh shares, we need to issue 75,000 bonus shares, multiply with 10. We'll need to transfer 750,000 into the bonus to shareholders, and for that, as the security premium available in cash, debit, CRR can be used for a bonus, general reserve can be used for a bonus, and balancing figure is P&L account which can be used for a bonus, and the account which is created is 7,50,000. Now bonus to shareholders account debit to equity share capital, that is 7,50,000, and yes, so this is the simple way, by debiting all the reserves and transfer to the bonus to shareholders, and then bonus to shareholders to equity share capital will be created with the same value. So this is the very simple and short sum regarding the bonus. One more sum is that for the right issue, Beta Limited, having a capital of 20,000 equity shares of 10 each, decided to issue right share at the ratio of 1 for every 8 shares held at par. Assuming all the shareholder accepted the right and all money was duly received, pass the journal entry in the books of the company. And the second one is Omega Limited offers shares of 100 each at 25% premium to existing shareholders on the basis of 1 for 5 shares. Come right market price of a shares is 200. You are required to calculate X right value of shares and value of right shares. So both we need to calculate. It's a very simple one, friends. First of all, as right shares are issued, that is for 20,000, the ratio is 1:8, so 2,500 right shares are issued, so bank to equity share capital. And the second one is come right value of the existing shares added with the right shares into issue price. So existing number of shares divided by number of right shares. So 200 is the come right value, multiply with the right shares offer 5, and added with, yes, that is added with the, yes, existing shares with the number of right shares. So we can get the value, that is 1125 divided by 6. So we can say that 187.5 per share, and if we deduct the same, we will get the value of the right, which can be separated out of the that is 200 value, which is the come right. So now X right value will be the 187.50. So this is the sum based on the right shares. Very simple. It was many times asked in the even a previous examination, and you can easily score a good marks from the same. Now a very interesting topic, redemption of preference shares. Here also you can get a good marks. You need to have an understanding of section 55, and there are only 3 provisions under the same which can give you a good marks for the same. ABC Limited provides you the following information as on 31st March. 50,000 equity shares of 10 each fully paid up, 5 lakh. 1510% redeemable preference shares of 100 each, 150,000. Reserves include capital reserve, which is not free. Yes, general reserve is a free reserve. Profit and loss account is 95,000. On 1st April 2021, the board of directors decided to redeem the preference share at a premium of 10% by utilization of reserves. As you can see that company is having the enough reserves in their balance sheet. You are required to prepare the necessary journal entries including cash transaction in the books of the company. So first of all, we will pass the entries regarding the redemption. So we will debit the redeemable preference share capital account debit, premium on redemption, as company is ready to give 10% premium. So preference shareholders account credited with 165,000, and which is paid to them. But before that, we need to transfer the equivalent amount into the CRR account, the amount which is equivalent to the nominal value of the preference shares redeemed. So general reserve account debited, P&L account debited to CRR account, as you cannot use the capital reserve, but yes, you can use the free reserves. And yes, most interesting entry, friends, nowadays when section 133 is applied, so now you cannot write off the redemption premium against the security premium, but you need to write off the P&L account. Yes, you can see that in the question, the capital reserve cannot be used, general reserve can be used, P&L account can be used. So you need to write off the premium on redemption first of all against the P&L, and then only you can transfer the amount to the CRR account. So these are the three provisions that you need to always keep in mind. Number one, the provision given in section 55, it must be fully paid up. Only those preference shares can be redeemed which are fully paid up. Number two, replacement of preference share capital. And for that you have three options with you. Number one, fresh issue of shares. Number two, free reserves. Transfer to CRR account. And number three, combination of both can be the third type by which you can replace the preference share capital. And third and most important, that redemption premium should be adjusted against the P&L account. Earlier it was be written off against the securities premium, but after the application of section 133, you cannot use the security premium balance to write off the premium on redemption of preference shares. So this is what you always keep in mind. And yes, it's very obvious that CRR will not get the capital reserve balance. In other words, capital reserve cannot be transferred to the CRR as both are of the same category, so it cannot be used for the purpose of the redemption of preference shares. So this is a very interesting sum. In the November 20 examination, the same type of sum was there in IC examination for 20 marks. The next one, the following balances appeared in the books of Omega Limited. 10% debentures 75 lakhs. Balance in DRR account, that is debenture redemption reserve account, is 250,000. DRR investment, that is 11,25,000, represented by 11,250 secured bonds of the government of India, that is of 100 each. The annual contribution to DRR was made as per the requirement on 31st March 2021. Balance at bank is 80 lakhs. Before receipt of interest on debentures had already been paid. The investment were realized at par for redemption of debenture at a premium of 10% on the above date. Omega Limited is unlisted company. Be careful, other than AIFI and banking company, NBFC and HFC. So you need to apply such type of rules. You are required to prepare debenture redemption reserve account, debenture redemption reserve investment account, and bank account in the books of the Omega Limited for the year ended 31st March 2021. So these three things we need to prepare: debenture redemption reserve account, debenture redemption investment account, and the bank account. But first of all, we need to go with the working note. Yes, first of all, DRR that we need to maintain, that is 10% of 75 lakhs rupee debenture, that comes to 7,50,000. We already have a balance of 250 in our DRR, so we need to create more 5 lakhs into the DRR account. So this is what we need to conclude. First of all, we'll start with 250, as we need to close the DRR, that is with the remaining 5 lakhs, which make a total of that is 7,50,000. So general reserve will be used for the same, and P&L account will also be debited for the same, as we have concluded that we need to create the remaining, that is 5 lakh from the P&L account. So we have debited the same, so that we can have a balance of 7,50,000. The opening balance of debenture redemption fund account will be realized by the sale of the same, And in the bank account, we are having opening balance 80 lakhs added with the interest on DRR investment 1,12,500 added with the sale of investment, that is 11,25,000. We need to pay to the debenture holders with a premium, and this is the bank balance, that is 987,500. So most important friends, this is the provision that you should keep in mind if it is the company comes under such a category as prescribed in the question, that is other than AIFI or banking company or NBFC or HFC. So you need to maintain that 10% ratio, and that is what the balance into the debenture redemption reserve account, which can be transferred at the time of the redemption of the debentures. Okay, now we move to the next one, investment accounts. It's a very easy, and you will always find a sum for the same. On 1st April 2019, Mr. Shyam had an opening balance of 1000 equity shares of X Limited, 1,20,000, face value of 100 each. He further purchased 200 cum right shares for 135 each. On 8th April, the director of X Limited announced a right issue, that is in the ratio of 1:6. Mr. Shyam waived off 100% entitlement of right issue in the favor of Mr. Rahul at the rate of 20 rupees each. All the shares held by Shyam had been acquired on cum right basis, and the total market price X right of all the shares after the declaration of right got reduced to 3400 rupee. Yes, on the 10th of October, Shyam sold all 350 shares at 140, and the market price of each share is 125. You are required to prepare the investment account in the books of Shyam for the year ended 31st March, assuming that the shares are being valued at average cost. So here we need to prepare the investment account. But first of all, we need to have a working notes calculation. These are playing a very important part, friends, that is working note. First of all, sale of rights, 4,000, the market value of X Limited shares becoming X right has been reduced by 3,400. So in this case, out of the sales proceed of 4,000, 3,400 may be applied to reduce carrying amount of the market value. So 600 would be credited to the P&L account. This is the first point that you should always keep in mind. Second point, sale price of 350 which are sold at 140, and the cost, which is very simple, 120,000 earlier added with 27,000 and deducted with 3,400, and if we multiply with 350 and divided with the 1,200, we can have the value of 350 shares, that is 41,883, which is the profit which we have earned out of the right shares. So value of the remaining 850 shares, once again 120 plus 27 minus 3,400 into 850. Yes, earlier we have multiplied with 350, here 850 divided by 1,200, same. So 101,717, but the fair value is given in a question is 125, the 106,250, but we will also always consider whichever is lower over here. So in the books of Shyam, for the year ending 31st March 20, opening balance 1,000, 120 added with the new shares purchase at 135. So now we are having 1,200 shares, out of which 3,400 that we have received. It is clearly mentioned in the question here that is of regarding 3,400. Yes, all these shares are declared of right and got reduced by 3,400. So it will be credited over here. Now 350 shares have been sold at 140. So we will have the remaining 850 having the value of 101,717, as we have already calculated in working note number 3, so that we can have a balancing figure, and that balancing figure denotes the profit on the all investments that is regarding the equity shares of X Limited, and that is always credited into the P&L account. So friends, most important part is to prepare this working note. This is the valuation of closing investment. These are the profit which are sold, and the rights which we have sold is also calculated in the this working note number 1. So friends, in this way you can grab at least 10 marks. This is the sum which can be in the examination for at least 10 marks, and you can easily grab that 10 marks by preparing the investment account. But don't forget to prepare the working note. Sometimes what I observe, students do not prepare the proper working note, and at the end it is result into losing the marks. So we should not go for the same, and we should prepare the proper working note to support your answer. And here the conclusive is 7117, which is the final answer, which is the profit out of such investments. Hello friends, now we continue with the next sum, that is the sum based on the fire claim, which we usually known as the insurance claim for loss of goods and loss of profit. So first of all, we are going to read the same. Ram's godown caught fire on 29th August 2020. Large part of the stock of goods was destroyed and goods costing 56350 could be only salvaged. So this much goods only we can manage to salvage. So this is the case of partial loss. RAM provides you the following additional information. Number 1, cost of stock, that is on 1st April 2019, that is opening stock. Cost of stock on 31st March 20, that is nothing but the closing stock of the last year. Purchase during the year ended 31st March 20, that is the purchase of the previous year. Purchase from 1st April to the date of fire, that is the year of fire, we will consider as a current year. Cost of goods distributed as a sample for advertising, that is on 1st April, so it is to be deducted from the purchase. Cost of goods withdrawn by the trader for personal use, the same way friends, it is also to be deducted from the purchase. Sales for the year ended 31st March 20, that is the sales of previous year. And sales from 1st April 20 to the date of fire, so this is the sales of, we will consider as a current year. Okay, Ram had taken the insurance policy for 4 lakh with an average clause. You are required to compute the amount of claim that will be admitted by the insurance company. A very simple sum. Here friends, we need to first of all prepare memorandum trading account so that we can get the GPR, and that GPR to be applied in the current year to arrive the closing stock. So first of all, we need to prepare the memorandum trading account, that is from the 1st April 20, that is up to the date of fire. But for that we need to have the GPR of the last year, and for that we need to prepare the trading account of the previous year. Be careful, this is the trading account for the year ended 31st March 20. Starting with opening stock 355 250 as given in a question, added with the purchase of the previous year, sales of the previous year, and the closing stock is also provided of the previous year. So this is the balancing figure friends. Yes, this is the balancing figure, and that GP now we need to convert into the GPR. The formula of GPR is equal to GP upon sales into 100. So GP is 12 lakh upon sales 40 lakhs into 100. So 30% GPR what we are managed in the last year, that is to be applied even in the current year. So in the current year, yes, we will apply 30% GPR, yes, as we have calculated on the basis of the last year. Starting with the opening stock, purchases, be careful, we need to deduct 2 items over here. Number 1, that is the advertisement which is given in a question, and number 2, that is the drawings. Both will be deducted. So we will have the net purchase, that is 1633850. Sales is also given in a question, 22,68,000. So now by applying 30%, yes, by applying that 30% on these sales, we will get 68400. So now this is going to be a balancing figure, 441300. This is we understand as a risk. In another words, this is the stock which can have all potential to get damaged or to be burned. So this is called the risk, and that risk needs to be covered by the policy value. Here we can see that the policy is only for 4 lakhs, but the risk involved is 441,300. So we can say that as policy value is less than risk involved, that is 4 lakh is the policy value, is less than risk that we have calculated, nothing but the closing stock 441300. So business stock is considered as underinsured. This is the most important, friends. Now we need to check whether it's a total loss. No, there are some salvage, so it's a case of partial loss. This is the closing stock, value of stock destroyed by fire, that is closing stock less salvage stock. So these are the stock which are lost. 384950. Be careful, many students commit a mistake to compare this loss with the policy value, but no friends, you need to compare the risk with the policy value. Be careful, here it is a risk of 441300, which are having all potential to get damaged, so it should be compared with the policy value, and if you compare the same, we find it underinsured. So now we need to apply the average clause, considered as underinsured with partial loss. So amount of claim as per average clause, where average clause equals to actual loss into policy value upon closing stock. Our actual loss is, after deducting the salvage, 384950. Policy value is 4 lakh and our risk is 441300. So if you use the calculator, you will definitely get the answer, and that is the proportionate answer, and which is nothing but 348924 will be the final answer. Here it is 348924 will be the amount of claim which will be allowed as per the calculation, as this is the underinsured with the partial loss. So we already studied in the chapter that if it is underinsured with the partial loss, the amount of claim will be always as per the average clause. So here it will be average clause applied, and we will get the answer, which is 348924. The next one, hire purchase basis question. What is the mean of repossession? What is the treatment of repossession in the books of hire purchaser? And the second one is based on 1st April 2018, Messrs. KMR acquired a machine on hire purchase from Messrs. PQR on the following terms. Cash price of the machine is 240,000. The down payment at the time of signing the contract was 96,000. The balance amount is to be paid in 3 equal annual installments plus interest. That is to be paid in the annual installment plus interest. Interest is chargeable 8% per annum. On the basis of the hire purchase interest suspense account, an account of Messrs. PQR in the books of purchaser for the following for the period of the hire purchase. Yes, on the basis of this, we need to prepare the hire purchase interest suspense account and the account of Messrs. PQR in the books of the purchaser for the period of the hire purchase. Yes, so friends, we are now going to first of all define the repossession. So friends, repossession is very simple, is a right of the seller to take back the goods, to repossess the goods, to take the charged goods back from the hire purchaser in case of any default by the hire purchaser, and can sell the goods after reconditioning to any other person. If the hire purchaser makes a default, the goods which is given to the hire purchaser can be taken back, and that is called the repossession. The hire purchaser closes the hire vendor's account by transferring the balance of the hire vendor's account to the hire purchase assets, and then finding the profit and loss on the event of repossession of the asset account. So this is what the repossession is all about. Now it's time to calculate the two accounts, to prepare the two accounts. Here the question suggests that the cash price that is of the goods given on hire purchase is 240 and down payment added with 96. So 144 is the remaining amount which is to be paid in 3 equal annual installment added with the interest. So 48,000 plus interest. So total interest will be calculated, and that is the percentage given in a question comes to 11,520 first year, second 7,680 and third year is 3,840. So if we start with the HP interest suspense account, so first of all we need to start with the total interest, that is 23,040, for which HP interest account will be debited, and every year the interest account will be credited with the corresponding values. So 11,520 is the amount, that is of 1819. So this is the balance now carry forward. Again for the 1920 interest will be credited, so balancing figure 3,840, and the same will be paid in the third year, that is by interest account. So same way in the PQR account, the machine which is purchased on hire purchase having a cash price added with the interest which is paid in 3 equal installments, starting with the first one 48 plus 48 and 59,520. So balancing figure now is 107,520, which is carry forward. Again the installment, that is 55,680. So we will have a balance of 51,840, and at the end the 48,000 added with the interest portion, the amount will be repaid. So it's a very simple sum that you can definitely solve based on the hire purchase accounting. Next is friends departmental accounts. Yes, the departmental accounts below balances are taken from the records of Messrs Big Shopping Complex for the year ended 31st March 2020. There are 2 departments, Department P and Department Q. Opening stock of both, purchases are given for the both, and sales is also given for the both. So these are the 3 information. Closing stock of Department P was 2 lakhs, including goods transfer from Department Q for 40,000. Yes. So closing stock of Department P is 2 lakhs, in which the goods which is transferred to Q includes 40,000. Closing stock of Department Q is 4 lakhs, which includes the goods transfer from Department P is 60,000. Opening stock of Department P included goods of 20,000 transferred from Department Q, and opening stock of Department Q include the goods of 30,000 transferred from Department P. So it's an inter-department adjustment. This is the only and major point of this solution. Assume that above transfer amounts are cost to the transferee department and the rate of gross profit is uniform from year to year. I repeat, assume that above transfer amounts to cost to the transferee department, that becomes the cost of the other department, and the gross profit on the above is uniform throughout the year and even from year to year. Total selling expense included 250,000 for both the departments. From the above information, we need to prepare the departmental trading account, P&L account on 31st March 20, and after adjusting unrealized departmental profits if any. So that is what we need to consider. So here we need to prepare departmental trading and P&L account for the year ended 31st March 2020. So first of all, we need to prepare the working notes, which is very important, friends. You need to keep a close eye on the same, how to prepare the working notes. So first of all, gross profit ratio, that is Department P, that is 8 lakhs and sales is 20 lakhs, so it is 40%, and of Department Q, that gross profit is 15 lakhs and sales is 30 lakhs, so it's a 50%. Stock reserve for Department P shall be adjusted as per the gross profit ratio of Department Q on a closing stock minus the opening stock, and in the same way, friends, stock reserve for Department Q shall be adjusted as per the gross profit ratio of Department P, that is 40%, as we have already calculated, which is nothing but the closing stock deducted from the opening stock. So first of all, friends, we are starting with the trading account and P&L account for Messrs Shopping Complex for the year ended 31st March 2020. Starting with the opening stock as given in a question, friends, 1 lakh and 80,000. Purchase is also given in a question, 13 lakhs and 80 lakh 20,000, that is to be included. On the other side, sales is also provided, 20 lakhs and 30 lakhs. and closing stock, that is 2 lakhs and 4 lakhs. So we will have the GP 8 lakhs and 15 lakhs that we have already considered over here, 8 lakhs and 15 lakhs. So we will have a 40% GPR in department P and 50% GPR in department Q. Now these balances are brought down in the net profit. Now all the selling expenses that is to be segregated, which is given 250,000 in a question, but it is divided in the ratio of sales. You can see that the sales is divided in the ratio of 1:, yes, that is in the ratio of 2:3 rather, yes, 2:3. So in the same way this is also adjusted. So 1 lakh and 150,000. So now we will have the balancing figure, that is the profit, which is transferred to the general reserve account. Now a general P&L account. Now if we prepare the general P&L account, so first of all, as we have calculated the profit of both the department, that is 7 lakhs and 13 lakh 50,000, that is credited, and on the debit side department P, that is working note, as we have calculated, if we deduct opening with closing and difference with the 50% GPR, so we will have a stock reserve. Same with the department Q, that is 60 minus 30 and 40% of the 30,000 is 12,000. So we will have a finally net profit, that is 20 lakh 28,000 will become the final net profit of the shopping complex as given in the question, and that will be the final answer. So friends, first of all you need to calculate the all inter-department adjustment, and then this sum becomes so easy to solve. This type of sum was there in many RTPs in the past years, so I am sure by calculating more and more sum you will get a good command over the topic. Now we move to the next one. Now it's based on the branch accounts. We will have a single entry, then we will have a framework for financial statement, and the accounting standard will be taught in the separate video. So first of all, now we are concentrating accounting for branches. So branches, Alpha Limited has a retail shop under the supervision of a manager. The ratio of gross profit at a selling price is constant at 25% throughout the year, that is to 31st March 2020. Branch manager is entitled to a commission of 10% of the profit earned by his branch, calculated before charging his commission, but subject to deduction from such commission equal to 25% of any ascertained deficiency in the branch stock. Yes, that is to be bear by the branch manager. All goods were supplied to the branch from HO. The following details have been provided, friends. The following details, in which opening stock at cost, goods sent to branch, sales, chargeable expenses, closing stock, and manager's commission which is paid is 2400. From the above details, you are required to calculate the commission due to manager for the year ended 31st March 20. Here friends, we have to just calculate the commission in this particular aspect, but for that we need to calculate the deficiency, as the manager is also liable for such deficiency. So calculation of deficiency, branch stock account we need to prepare, that is always at invoice price, starting with opening stock 74736 plus 1/3 of the same. Goods sent to branch, again 289,680 plus 1/3 of the same. So we will have the sales which is given in a question. Closing stock is also provided. So we will have a deficiency of 1280. So this is the deficiency to be bear in the calculation of commission. If we calculate the net profit before commission, then it will be like this. Opening stock, as we have already calculated, 99648. Goods sent to branch, again the same, 386240. Expenses, that is given in a question, 49120. Sales is also given, closing stock is also given. If we unload the profit portion, that will be stock reserve. By goods sent to branch, which is on the other side, the loading for the same. Stock reserve here also, that is of the closing stock. So we will have a net profit, that is subject to manager's commission. And from this 42240, if we calculate 10%, it comes to 4024. But for the deficiency, yes, we have already calculated 1280. 25% that is to be bear by the manager, that is, yes, 25% of the cost of deficiency in stock. So 25% of 1280, and that is 75% of the same will comes to 240. So commission for the year comes to 3784. So now if we deduct the paid on account which is already given to the managers, the balance which is payable to the manager will be 1384. So this is very interesting, friends. First of all, you need to prepare this branch stock account so that you can get the deficiency, and that deficiency is also considered while calculating the amount payable for the commission. So this is the sum, not exclusively based on the calculation of branch accounts, but mainly focusing on the commission payable to the manager. The next one is based on the single entry. Yes, Ram carried on the business as a retail merchant. He has not maintained regular accounts books. However, he always maintained 10,000 in cash and deposited the balance into the bank. He normally keeps 10,000 in his cash balance, and the balance in any excess above 10,000 is given to the deposited into the bank. He informs you he has sold goods at a profit of 25% on sales. Yes, this is the profit. 25% on sales is equivalent to 33 1/3, that is on the cost. The balance is given: cash in hand, opening closing, creditors opening closing, cash at bank opening closing, debtors opening closing, stock in trade only opening, no closing is given, as well as Ram's capital opening is given, closing is not given. Adjustments: analysis of his bank passbook reveals the following information. He had make the payment to the creditors 7 lakhs, payment for business expense 120,000, receipt from debtors, that is 750,000, loan taken of rupees 1 lakh, and that is taken on 1st of October at 10% rate of interest per annum. Cash deposited, that is 1 lakh, that is over and above that 10,000. He informs you that the paid creditors, he paid the creditors for goods 20,000 in cash and salary 40,000 in cash. He has drawn 80,000 in cash for his personal expense. These are the additional information. During the year, Ram had not introduced any additional capital, surplus cash if any, to be taken as a cash sales. All purchases are on a credit basis. Yes, these are the last line, very important. During the year, Ram had not introduced any additional capital, so you cannot consider the difference amount is the additional capital, and surplus cash if any to be taken as cash sales. So balance of cash account will be considered as a cash sales. All purchases are always made on the credit basis. What we need to calculate? We are required to calculate trading and P&L account for the year ended 31st March 2021 and balance sheet as at 31st March 2021 that we need to calculate. So friends, first of all, we need to go with the working notes. Yes, working notes always plays a very important role in such type of sums. So first of all, working notes starting with the debtors account. Balance brought down, which is already given in a question. Balance carried down is also given in a question. The amount received from the debtors is credited, so we will get a balancing figure, and that is always a credit sale. Be careful, the difference of cash account or balancing figure of cash account is a cash sales, but here it is considered as a credit sale. Same way friends, creditors, opening balance, closing balance, amount paid to the creditors, that is by check, this is by cash, so we will have a balancing figure, that is nothing but the credit purchase. As all the purchases are on the credit basis, so no purchase apart from this we need to consider. Cash opening balance 10,000 and bank having the overdraft, as you can see in the question. Yes, cash at bank have a different credit balance as well as debit balance. In other words, opening is the credit balance, that is of cash, and closing is the debit balance. If it is a credit balance, then it is nothing but the bank overdraft, but closing is the debit balance on both the sides. Okay, as we have calculated the amount which are deposited into the bank. So here contra entry, cash is decreased and bank balance is increased. The amount which we received from the debtors, the amount which we have paid to the creditors either in cash and with the check. Salary is also paid in cash. Drawings is also made in cash, but loan we have taken through check. This is the business expense given in a question that is paid by bank. So now after putting the closing balances in the cash and bank column, we will have the balancing figure. Yes, this is the balancing figure, and as the question suggests, any balance in the cash account will be considered as a cash sales. So we will have both cash sales as well as credit sales. So now it's time to prepare the trading account and P&L account, starting with the opening stock given in a question. Purchases that we have calculated from the creditors account, all purchases are credit purchases. Sales, this is cash sales, what we have calculated from the cash account, and this is the credit sales that we have calculated from the debtors account. Closing stock, that is the balancing figure. Yes, this is very interesting. The reason, the profit margin is already given in a question. So this 25% is always calculated on the total sales, and 12,40,000 multiplied by with 25%. So we will have a gross profit, that is 3,10,000, and this balancing figure is considered as a closing stock. Okay, now all the expenses which are paid either in cash or by check, salaries, business expense, interest on loan, and the most important, the interest is calculated 1,10%, and that is for 6 months, that we have calculated 5,000. So now we will have the balancing figure, which is nothing but the net profit. So friends, now it's time to prepare the balance sheet, starting with the opening capital is given in a question, added with the net profit, deducted with the drawing. So we will have a closing capital 365,000. Yes, loan including the interest portion, creditors closing balance, debtors closing balance, cash and bank closing balance, and the stock which we have calculated from the trading account. So we will have a total of 5,60,000 in the balance sheet, which is the closing balance sheet of the company. So this is very interesting, friends. These are the working accounts that you cannot forget in support of your answer. Many times what I observed, students do not prepare such working notes, and ultimately it resulted into a loss of marks. So we cannot bear this loss. So you always need to prepare all working notes and supported accounts whenever required. With regard to the financial statements, name any 5 characteristics and elements. And second is, Aman started a business on 1st April 2020 with 24 lakhs, represented 120,000 units of 20 each. During the financial year 31st March 2021, he sold the entire stock for 30 rupees each, which he has taken for 20, now sold for 30. In order to maintain the capital intact, calculate the maximum amount which can be withdrawn by the Aman in the year 2021 if the financial capital is maintained at a historical cost. A very simple sum. First of all, we need to understand the characteristics of the financial statement, and that are 3: understandability, mainly relevance and reliability. Apart from comparability, faithful representation, these all are the elements or qualitative characteristics of the financial statements. And the elements, assets, liability, equity, income, gain or expenses and losses are the elements of the financial statements. Now, yes, the closing equity is 30 into 120, so 36 lakhs represented by cash. Opening, which is 20 into 120, 24 lakhs, difference is 12 lakhs. So permissible drawing is very simple, friends. To keep the capital intact is the difference between the opening and closing, that is equity. So this is the, friends, RTP that is issued by the ICAI for the atom May 21. Yes, friends, you will find a separate video that is exclusively for the accounting standard by the Chartered Accountant Vatsal Shah sir. So we have done with the all remaining aspect of the RTP, that is May 21, issued by the ICAI. I hope it will definitely help you in your preparation for the examination of intermediate paper 1 accounting, and all the best to all my dear students. Thank you very much.
Hello friends, welcome to Naukara Digital Institute. Myself CA Vatsal Shah. Friends, इंस्टीट्यूट ने रिसेंटली May 2021 के लिए RTP रिवीजन टेस्ट पेपर इश्यू किया है. So in the today's lecture we will solve all the accounting standard questions of the paper number 1, that is nothing but the accounting, and we will solve the questions related to the accounting standard. Clear? So let's start without wasting much time, and if I can check, then the accounting standard question is starting from the question number 16A. Clear? This is nothing but the accounting standard, and first question is related to AS1, disclosure of accounting policy. पहले फ्रेंड्स मैं क्वेश्चन को पढ़ रहा हूं, उसके बाद हम डिटेल सॉल्यूशन को डिस्कस करेंगे. The draft result of the Surya Limited for the year ended 31st March 2020 prepared hitherto followed the accounting policies and presented for the perusal of the board of directors shows a deficit of 10 crore. The board, in consultation with the managing director, decided to value year-end inventory at a work cost rupees 50 crore instead of the hitherto method of the valuation of inventory at a prime cost rupees 30 crore. As the chief accountant of the company, you are asked by the managing director to draft these notes on account of the inclusion in the annual report for the 1920. फ्रेंड्स, हमने जब भी पूरे फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट प्रिपेयर किया तो फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट प्रिपेयर करने के टाइम हमारा 10 करोड़ का डेफिसिट आया. मैं जब वर्ड बोल रहा हूं कि 10 करोड़ का डेफिसिट आया, उसका मतलब हमारा 10 करोड़ रुपीस का लॉस आया. हम ये जब फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर की अप्रूवल के लिए जाते हैं तो हमने इतना सोच लिया कि बॉस, ये 10 करोड़ का लॉस तो नहीं चलेगा, कुछ ना कुछ करके हमको फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट को कहां पे लाना पड़ेगा, तो प्रॉफिट में कन्वर्ट करना पड़ेगा. एंड इसीलिए इस बार हमने डिसाइड किया है कि बॉस, हम जो हमारी इन्वेंट्री का वैल्यूएशन करेंगे ना, वो इन्वेंट्री का वैल्यूएशन जो हम करने वाले हैं वो किसके हिसाब से करेंगे, तो कि इन्वेंट्री का वैल्यूएशन हम जो करेंगे वो वर्क्स कॉस्ट के हिसाब से करेंगे. एंड वर्क्स कॉस्ट के हिसाब से हमारा जो इन्वेंट्री का वैल्यूएशन आ रहा है ना, वो कितना आ रहा है, रुपीज 50 करोड़. आज तक हम जो इन्वेंट्री का वैल्यूएशन फ्रेंड्स कर रहे थे वो प्राइम कॉस्ट पर कर रहे थे ना. प्राइम कॉस्ट के हिसाब से हमारा वैल्यूएशन कितना आ रहा था, तो 30 करोड़. डोंट यू थिंक सो? आप आपकी इन्वेंट्री को कैलकुलेट करने की मेथड को चेंज कर रहे हो, एंड अगर आप इन्वेंट्री वैल्यूएशन की मेथड को यहां पे चेंज कर रहे हो तो सिंपली इट विल बी कंसीडर्ड एज अ चेंज इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी. यू नो वेरी वेल, चेंज इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी इज जस्ट अलाउड इन 3 सिचुएशन. नंबर 1, इफ इट इज रिक्वायर्ड बाय लॉ. नंबर 2, if it is required by the accounting standard, or the number 3, for the better preparation or the presentation of the financial statement. मैंने आपको ये भी सिखाया क्लास में कि जब भी आप आपकी अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज को चेंज करो ना, तो आपको 4 डिस्क्लोजर देना पड़ेगा. कौन से 4 डिस्क्लोजर? ओल्ड पॉलिसी, न्यू पॉलिसी, रीजन फॉर द चेंज एंड इंपैक्ट ऑन पीएनएल. यहां पे मैं मेरी ओल्ड पॉलिसी में लिखूंगा कि आज तक हम इन्वेंट्री की वैल्यूएशन को प्राइम कॉस्ट के हिसाब से करते थे. न्यू पॉलिसी में मैं लिखूंगा कि मैं मेरे इन्वेंट्री की वैल्यूएशन ऑफ वर्क्स कॉस्ट के हिसाब से कर रहा हूं. रीजन फॉर द चेंज मे बी फॉर द बेटर प्रिपरेशन एंड द प्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट. एंड इंपैक्ट ऑन पीएनएल, हाउ इट impact our P&L. So obviously, as per our old method, our closing stock was at a 30 crore. But as per our new method, my closing stock is nothing but the 50 crore. So can I say because of the change in the inventory valuation, मेरा closing stock बढ़ रहा है? एंड अगर मेरा क्लोजिंग स्टॉक बढ़ रहा है तो आपको पता होना चाहिए कि क्लोजिंग स्टॉक होता है इनकम साइड. एंड अगर क्लोजिंग स्टॉक इनकम साइड होता है तो जैसे ही आपका इनकम साइड बढ़ेगा, कैन आई से फ्रेंड्स, आपका ऑटोमेटिकली प्रॉफिट भी बढ़ने वाला है. सो बिकॉज ऑफ द चेंज इन अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी मेरा 20 करोड़ रुपए से प्रॉफिट बढ़ने वाला है. इतना डिस्क्लोज करना पड़ेगा. क्लियर? अगर फ्रेंड्स हम क्वेश्चन नंबर 16A का आंसर अंदर आरटीपी में जो दिया है उसके हिसाब से अगर मैं रीड करके आपको समझो. 16A, okay, this is the answer. As per AS1, any change in the accounting policy which has a material effect in the current period or which is reasonably expected to have a material effect in the later period should be disclosed. In the case of the change in accounting policy which has a material effect in the current period, the amount by which any item in the financial statement is affected by such change should also be disclosed to the extent ascertainable. Where such amount is not ascertainable wholly or in part, the fact should be indicated. Accordingly, the notes on accounts should properly disclose to change in its effect. And the notes on accounts is given. During the year, inventory has been valued at a factory cost against the practice of valuing it at a prime cost, as was the practice till last year. This has been done to take the cognizance of the more capital intensive method of the production on account of the heavy capital expenditure during the year. As a result of this change, the year end inventory has been valued at rupees 50 crore and the profit for the year is increased by 20 crore. Clear? So हमारा जो अभी तक जो था वो क्वेश्चन नंबर 16A था. अब हम नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट करें, दैट इज नथिंग बट द क्वेश्चन नंबर 16B. पहले मैं क्वेश्चन नंबर 16B को मैं क्वेश्चन को रीड कर रहा हूं. अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड 2 के साथ रिलेटेड क्वेश्चन है, सो लेट्स चेक. ओके. The inventory of the Reach Limited as on 31st March 2020 comprises of the product A 200 unit and the product B 800 unit. Details of the cost for this product are: product A, material cost, wages cost and the overhead cost of each unit are rupees 40, 30 and 20 respectively. Each unit is sold at a 110. Selling expense amount to 10% of the selling cost. For the product B, material cost and the wages cost of the each unit are 45 and 35 respectively. And the normal selling rate is 150 each. However, due to defect in the manufacturing process, 800 units of the product B were expected to be sold at rupees 70. You are requested to value the closing inventory according to AS2 after considering the above. Friends, understand. मैं यहां पे फिनिश गुड्स का वैल्यूएशन कर रहा हूं एंड मेरे पास फिनिश गुड्स में टोटल 2 प्रोडक्ट है, प्रोडक्ट ए एंड द प्रोडक्ट बी. क्लियर? You know very well, as per the accounting standard 2, finished goods are valued at cost or NRV, whichever is lower. So first of all, मुझे दोनों प्रोडक्ट के लिए कॉस्ट डिटरमाइन करना पड़ेगा. दोनों प्रोडक्ट के लिए मुझे क्या डिटरमाइन करना पड़ेगा? तो NRV डिटरमाइन करना पड़ेगा. NRV मतलब what? तो कि नेट रियलाइजेबल वैल्यू. एंड व्हाट इज द फॉर्मूला फॉर NRV? इट इज नथिंग बट द एक्सपेक्टेड सेलिंग प्राइस माइनस एक्सपेक्टेड कंप्लीशन कॉस्ट माइनस एक्सपेक्टेड सेलिंग कॉस्ट. क्लियर? सो लेट्स स्टार्ट द सॉल्यूशन वन बाय वन. This is nothing but the solution for the question number 16B, right? Okay. Question 16B. And in question number 16B, if I start, then simple. Let's start with the product A. Okay. First of all, write down. According to AS2, finished goods are valued at cost or net realizable value, whichever is lower on individual basis. Clear? Now let's start with the product A. And for product A, first of all, we will determine cost per unit. Clear? And for that, let's check material, wages and overhead 40, 30 and the 20. So here I am writing material is equal to 40, wages is equal to 30 and the overhead is equal to 20. So the cost per unit will be 90. Clear? Now we will calculate net realizable value. In the question, they have clearly given that you can sell the particular unit at a 110, but if you want to sell in a 110, you have to incur the 10% of the selling cost. Clear? So here, expected selling price is equal to selling price is equal to 110 minus expected completion cost is equal to dash minus expected selling cost and it is 110 into 10%, so 11. Clear? So the net realizable value will be 99. Clear? My cost is 90, my NRV is 99. So simple. Closing stock of a product A is whichever is lower, and whichever is lower, I am having the 200 units, and the whichever is lower is 90. So 200 units into rupees 90. So your answer will be rupees 18,000. Clear? This is for the product A. Now if we check for the product B, and in product B, first of all, I will determine cost per unit, and let's determine the cost per unit. So material and wages is nothing but the 45 and the 35. So material is equal to 45 and the wages is equal to 35. So cost per unit will be 40 plus 30, 70 plus 10 means is 80. And if we can check, normally we are selling the product B at rupees 150, but now these products are defective, so we have to sold at a 70 rupees. So the net realizable value net realizable value is equal to rupees 70. Clear? So closing stock of a product B, we are having 800 units and it will be valued at a whichever is lower, so at rupees 70. So take a calci, 800 into 70, then your answer will be 56,000. And the total value of the closing stock, total value of closing stock, you know very well, for the product A my answer is 18,000 and for the product B my answer is 56,000. Clear? So 56,000 plus 18,000, my total answer will be 74,000. Clear? So let's check the answer of the question number 16B. Okay, the answer of the 16B, correct answer is total value of the closing stock, it's 74,000. Clear? Perfect. So question 16 is over and now we are starting with question number 17. Okay, first of all I am reading the question number 17A, please focus. This question is related to AS10, property, plant and equipment. You are required to give the correct accounting treatment for the following in line with the provision of accounting standard 10. Trojan Limited operates a major chain of the supermarkets all over in India. It acquires a new store in the Pune which requires a significant renovation expenditure. It is expected that the renovation will be done in the 2 months during which the store will be closed. The budget for this period including the expenditure related to the construction and the remodeling cost is rupees 18 lakh. Salaries of the staff rupees 2 lakh who will be preparing the store before its opening, and the related utility cost is 1.5 lakh is prepared. The cost of the salaries of the staff and utilities are operating expenditure. Underline, please, it is an operating expenditure that would be incurred even after the opening of the supermarket. What will the treatment of all this expenditure in the books of accounts? There is a company name is Trojan Limited. Trojan Limited is acquiring the one supermarket in the Pune and now they are renovating it. And for the redevelopment cost, the amount is nothing but the 18 lakh, but at that time you have to pay the salary to your employees and the amount of the salary is at 2 lakh. And at that time you have to pay the related utilities cost and the amount is a 1.5 lakh. But obviously, directly construction cost is nothing but just the 18 lakh only. So we will capitalize just the 18 lakh with the cost of the asset, and the 2 lakh salary and the 1.5 lakh related utility cost is simply charged to P&L. Clear? So let's read the answer for the question number 17A. Yes. Trojan Limited should capitalize the cost of the construction and the remodeling the supermarket because they are necessary to bring the store to the condition necessary for it to be capable of operating in the manner intended. The supermarket cannot be opened without incurring the remodeling expenditure. Therefore, this construction and the remodeling expenditure of rupees 18 lakh should be considered as a part of the cost of the asset. However, the cost of the salaries of the staff of rupees 2 lakh and the utility cost of 1.5 lakh are operating expenditure that would be incurred even after the opening of the supermarket. Therefore, these costs are not necessary to bring the store to the condition necessary for it to be capable of the operating in the manner intended by the management and should be expensed. So simply we will capitalize just 18 lakh only. Clear? So that was the answer for the question number 17A. Let's check 17B. Okay. ABC Limited is setting up a new refinery outside the city limit. In order to facilitate the construction of the refinery and its operation, ABC Limited is required to incur the expenditure on the construction or development of the railway sidings, road and the bridge. Though ABC Limited incurs the expenditure on the construction or development, it will not have the ownership right on this item, and they are also available for the use to the other entities and the public at large. Can ABC Limited capitalize the expenditure incurred on this item as a property, plant and equipment? What is the situation? I am setting up a new factory outside the city limit. And whenever I am establishing the any factory outside the city limit, can I say friends आपको एक ट्रांसपोर्टेशन का प्रॉब्लम आएगा एंड इसीलिए क्या कर रहे हो आप ह्यूज एक्सपेंडिचर कर रहे हो फॉर द प्रिपरेशन और फॉर द कंस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ द रेलवे साइडिंग. आप आपकी खर्चे से क्या बना रहे हो तो रोड एंड ब्रिज बना रहे हो. पर आस्क योरसेल्फ, आप जो रोड एंड ब्रिज बना रहे हो वो रोड एंड ब्रिज पर आपकी ओनरशिप है? तो ऑब्वियसली नो, बिकॉज कहने से मैं रोड एंड ब्रिज तो मेरी फैसिलिटी के बदले बना रहा हूं, पर कहां पे बना रहा हूं तो कि गवर्नमेंट की लैंड पर बना रहा हूं, तो वो रोड एंड ब्रिज पर कभी भी मेरा ओनरशिप होने वाला नहीं है. पर कहने से वन थिंग इज वेरी क्लियर, अगर मैं वहां पे रेलवे साइडिंग्स एंड रोड एंड ब्रिज नहीं बनाऊंगा तो कहने से मुझे एक्सपेक्टेड फ्यूचर इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट भी मिलने वाला नहीं है. तो सिंपल, अगर मैं खर्चा कर रहा हूं तो सिंपल वो मुझे क्या कर रहा है तो फ्यूचर इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट देने के लिए हेल्प कर रहा है. So in your books of accounts, what is the recognition criteria? The number one, the cost of the asset should be measured reliably, and the number two, it is expected that the future economic benefits will flow to the entity. Agreed? इस पर्टिकुलर चीज पर मेरा ओनरशिप नहीं है, पर ये पर्टिकुलर चीज पर कहने से मेरा कंट्रोल तो है. भले बाकी के लोग भी उसको यूज करें, मुझे दिक्कत नहीं है, पर कहने से अगर ये मैं बनाऊंगा ही नहीं तो सिंपल मुझे कुछ भी फ्यूचर इकोनॉमिक बेनिफिट मिलने वाला नहीं है. तो हाँ, आप उसको एक सेपरेट असेट की तरह रिकॉर्ड नहीं कर सकते, पर आपने जो एक फैक्ट्री आउटसाइड द सिटी लिमिट बनाई है, उस फैक्ट्री की कॉस्ट में ये रेलवे साइडिंग एंड उस सब का खर्चा आप क्या कर सकते हो तो क्या ऐड कर सकते हो. आंसर बहुत मस्त लिख के दिया है, मैं पहले पढ़ रहा हूं. A10 states that the cost of an item of the property, plant and equipment shall be recognized as an asset if and only if it is probable that the future economic benefits associated with the item will flow to the entity, and number B, the cost of the item can be measured reliably. Further, this standard provides that the standard does not prescribe the unit of the measure for the recognition. That is what constitutes an item of the property, plant and equipment. Thus, judgment is required in applying the recognition criteria to an entity's specific circumstances. The cost of an item of the property, plant and equipment comprise any cost directly attributable to bringing the asset to the location and the condition necessary for it to be capable of the operating in the manner intended by the management. In the given case, railway siding, road and the bridge are required to facilitate the construction of the refinery and for its operation. Expenditure on this item is required to be incurred in order to get the future economic benefit from the project as a whole, which can be considered as a unit of the measure for the purpose of capitalization of the said expenditure, even though the company cannot restrict the excess of others for using the asset individually. It is apparent that aforesaid expenditure is directly attributable to bringing the asset to the location and the condition necessary for it to be capable of the operating in the manner intended by the management. In view of this, even though ABC Limited may not be able to recognize the expenditure incurred on this asset as an individual item of the property, plant and equipment in many cases, where it cannot restrict others from using the asset. Expenditure incurred may be capitalized as a part of the overall cost of the project. From this, it can be concluded that in the given case, the expenditure incurred on this asset, that is railway sidings, road and bridge, should be considered as the cost of constructing the refinery, and accordingly, expenditure incurred on this item should be allocated and the capitalized as a part of the items of the property, plant and equipment of the refinery. Clear? Means you cannot capitalize as a separate individual asset, but आपने जो ऑलरेडी रिफाइनरी को ऐसा असेट की तरह शो किया है, उसमें आप क्या कर सकते हो, तो उसमें सिंपली आप उसको ऐड कर सकते हो, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. परफेक्ट. सो दैट वाज द क्वेश्चन नंबर 17 B. Clear? And let's start with the question number 18A related to AS11. The effects of changes in foreign exchange rate. Classify the following item into the monetary and the non-monetary. Understand what is the definition of the monetary item as per the accounting standard 11. Monetary item is nothing but any asset or liability and the amount is fixed under the contract. I have given various examples related to the monetary item in our classroom, that is nothing but the debtor, creditor, bill receivable, bills payable, loan and the borrowing. First of all, if we discuss about the non-share capital, so simple, the share capital will be considered as a non-monetary item because amount is not fixed under the contract and it is not an asset or liability. Trade payable is monetary, cash balance is again a monetary, but the property, plant and equipment is nothing but the non-monetary. Clear? So it was a very easy question. Let's start question 18B. Trade payable of the CAT Limited include amount payable to JBB Limited, rupees 10 lakh, recorded at the prevailing exchange rate on the date of the transaction. Transaction recorded at a $1 is equal to 80. The exchange rate on the balance sheet date, that is 31st March 20, was $1 is equal to 85. You are required to calculate the amount of the exchange difference and also explain the accounting treatment recorded for this as per accounting standard 11 in the books of the CAT Limited. Friends, I am having the trade payable of rupees 10 lakh and it was recorded at the $1 is equal to 80. So simply अगर मैं चेक करूं तो उसको डॉलर में कन्वर्ट करूं तो डॉलर में मेरा क्रेडिटर का बैलेंस कितना होगा, 12,500. जब उसको रिकॉर्ड किया था तब मैंने उसको एंट्री किया होगा परचेस अकाउंट डेबिट टू क्रेडिटर, एंड यू नो वेरी वेल क्रेडिटर इज नथिंग बट माय फॉरेन करेंसी मॉनेटरी आइटम. एंड इफ क्रेडिटर इज नथिंग बट योर फॉरेन करेंसी मॉनेटरी आइटम, तो कहने से उसको बैलेंस शीट डेट पर क्लोजिंग रेट पर कन्वर्ट करना पड़ेगा. एंड जब उसको बैलेंस शीट डेट पर क्लोजिंग रेट पर कन्वर्ट करो तो मेरा 80 का जो रेट था ना वो कितना पहुंच गया, 85 तक पहुंच गया. मतलब कहने से मेरा पर डॉलर 5 रुपए बढ़ रहा है, एंड पर डॉलर अगर मेरा 5 रुपए बढ़े तो कहने से $12,500 पर मेरा 62,500 बढ़ेगा. एंड 62,500 का मुझे फॉरेन एक्सचेंज का लॉस रिकॉर्ड करना पड़ेगा, एंड वो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज लॉस की मैं एंट्री क्या करूंगा, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज लॉस अकाउंट डेबिट टू क्रेडिटर्स अकाउंट. यू नो वेरी वेल योर क्रेडिटर इज नथिंग बट योर शॉर्ट टर्म फॉरेन करेंसी मॉनेटरी आइटम. अगर वो लॉन्ग टर्म होता ना तो मेरे पास पैरा 46 और 46A का कुछ ऑप्शन बचता, पर मेरे पास कहने से यहाँ पे ये लॉन्ग टर्म नहीं है. एंड अगर ये लॉन्ग टर्म नहीं है तो सिंपल जितना भी फॉरेन एक्सचेंज का गेन का लॉस है वो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज का गेन का लॉस हम सिंपली ट्रांसफर कहां पे कर देंगे, तो पीएनएल में ट्रांसफर कर देंगे. क्लियर? तो सिंपल अगर मैं उसका आंसर लिखूं तो दिस इज क्वेश्चन 18B. क्लियर? एंड क्वेश्चन 18B में सबसे पहले मैं परचेज जब किया तब उसकी जर्नल एंट्री लिख रहा हूं, तो उसकी एंट्री क्या होगी, purchase account debit, how much, so it is a 10 lakh to creditors account, it is a 10 lakh. Clear? now मैं जो एंट्री कर रहा हूं वो कौन से दिन का कर रहा हूं, तो बैलेंस शीट डेट का एंट्री कर रहा हूं. एंड बैलेंस शीट डेट में सबसे पहले उसको हम डॉलर में कन्वर्ट करें, तो डॉलर में कन्वर्ट करेंगे तो जो रुपीस 10 लाख था ना, जब ट्रांजेक्शन किया था तब रेट था रुपीस 80, तो 10 लाख डिवाइडेड बाय 80 मतलब जो आंसर होगा वो कितना होगा, तो $12,500. यस और नो? ओके. एंड उसके लिए मैं एंट्री करूं तो फॉरेन एक्सचेंज लॉस अकाउंट डेबिट, फॉरेन एक्सचेंज loss account debit in a bracket $12,500 into bracket में 65 minus 60, so my answer will be 62,500. foreign exchange loss account debit 62,500 to creditors account, 60 to find, and you know very well that entire loss will be simply charged to P&L. So the next entry will be P&L account debit 62,500 to foreign exchange loss account, and the answer will be 60 to 500. Clear? So this is the answer of the 18B. Just एक बार हम वेरीफाई कर ले, अंदर जो आंसर प्रिंट करके दिया उसमें okay, exchange difference loss 60 to 500 and this is debited to P&L, so there is a no worry. Our answer is correct. Clear? Okay. So हम start कर रहे हैं कौन से क्वेश्चन से? क्वेश्चन नंबर 19A. Okay, and अगर क्वेश्चन नंबर 19A हम अगर वेरीफाई करें, that is related to AS12 accounting for the government grant, and in 19A let's start with the sub question 1. Hygiene Limited had received a grant of rupees 50 lakh in the 2012 from the state government towards installation of the pollution control machinery on fulfillment of the certain condition. The company, however, failed to comply with the said condition and consequently was required to refund the said amount in the 2020. The company debited the same amount its machinery account in the 2020 on payment of the same. It also reworked the depreciation for the said machinery from the date of its purchase and passed the necessary adjusting entry in the year 2020 to incorporate the retrospective impact of the same. State whether the treatment done by the company is correct or not. Understand? आपको पॉल्यूशन कंट्रोल इक्विपमेंट इंस्टॉल करने के लिए आपको एक ग्रांट मिला था. लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल कि 100 रुपए की असेट थी ना, आपको 20 रुपए की ग्रांट मिला था, तो सिंपल आपने असेट को कितने से दिखाया था? 80 रुपए से दिखाया था. जब ग्रांट मिला था ना, तो आपने एंट्री क्या किया था? बैंक अकाउंट डेबिट टू असेट अकाउंट 20 रुपीज. लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल कि असेट के लिए 10 साल है, तो पर एनम कहने से 8 रुपए का डेप्री प्रोवाइड करोगे. 3 साल तक सिंपल बोलो आपने 24 रुपीज का डेप्री प्रोवाइड किया, आज आपकी बुक में असेट की वैल्यू कितनी है? 56. अब हुआ क्या? आपको एक ग्रांट को रिफंड करने की नौबत आई. जब ग्रांट मिला था कहने से आपने असेट का अकाउंट क्रेडिट किया था, तो जब भी ग्रांट को रिफंड करो तो कहने से आप असेट का अकाउंट ही डेबिट करोगे, एंड उसके लिए एंट्री क्या करोगे? असेट अकाउंट डेबिट टू बैंक अकाउंट. मेरे केस में वो कितना था? 20 रुपीज. तो 56 प्लस 20 कितना था? 76. अब जो मैं डेप्रिसिएशन कैलकुलेट करूंगा ना, वो कभी भी रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव डेप्रिसिएशन नहीं होगा, वो प्रोस्पेक्टिव ही होगा. मतलब 10 साल में से अगर मेरे 3 साल ऑलरेडी खत्म हो गए, 7 साल बाकी है, तो ये जो 76 रुपीज की अमाउंट है ना, वो 76 रुपीज की अमाउंट को मैं सिंपल रिमेनिंग 7 इयर्स में क्या कर दूंगा? राइट ऑफ कर दूंगा. आपकी कंपनी ने जो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट दिया है ना, वो रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव देने की जरूरत नहीं है. मैं सिंपल कौन से इफेक्ट दूंगा? प्रोस्पेक्टिव इफेक्ट दूंगा. क्लियर? तो सिंपल अगर हम 19A के आंसर को पढ़े 19A में सब क्वेश्चन 1 में पढ़ रहा हूं. As per the facts of the cases, Hygiene Limited had received the grant of rupees 50 lakh in 2012 from a state government towards installation of the pollution control machinery on fulfillment of the certain condition. However, the amount of the grant has to be refunded since it failed to comply with the prescribed condition. In such circumstances, AS12 accounting for the government grant requires that the amount refundable in respect of the government grant related to a specific fixed asset is recorded by increasing the book value of the asset or by reducing the capital reserve or for the deferred income balance as appropriate by the amount refundable. This standard further makes it clear that in the first alternative, where the book value of the asset is increased, depreciation on the revised book value should be provided prospectively over the residual life of the asset. Accordingly, the accounting treatment given by the Hygiene Limited of increasing the value of the plant and machinery is quite proper. However, the accounting treatment in respect of the depreciation given by the company of adjustment of the depreciation with the retrospective effect is improper and constitutes violation of the accounting standard 12. Clear? कंपनी ने ग्रांट को रिफंड करने की एंट्री तो सही किया था, पर कंपनी ने जो गलत किया ना, वो गलत कौन सा था? तो वो लोग जो डेप्रिसिएशन कैलकुलेट कर रहे हैं, वो डेप्रिसिएशन वो लोग रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव कर रहे हैं, पर आपको रेट्रोस्पेक्टिव नहीं करना है. कौन सा डेप्रिसिएशन करना है? प्रोस्पेक्टिवली ही कैलकुलेट करना पड़ेगा. Let's start the next question. That is nothing but the question number 19A, sub question 2. ABC Limited received 2 acres of the land received for setup of a plant. It also received 2 lakh received for purchase of machinery for the purchase of 2 lakh. Useful life of the machinery is 5 years. Depreciation on machinery is to be charged on the straight line basis. How should ABC Limited recognize this government grant in the books of the account? Friends, you are receiving the 2 acre of the land for the setting up of the plant, and simple, this is nothing but you are receiving something in the non-monetary, something in the kind. And whenever you are receiving any grant as a non-monetary grant, means in a kind, then simple you are having a 2 choice or 1 choice, only 1 choice. That simple, that grant will be recorded at a nominal amount only. Second, you are receiving the 2 lakh rupees for the purchase of the machinery of rupees 10 lakh. So whenever I am purchasing the machinery, I will pass an entry machinery account debit to bank account 10 lakh rupees. And against that 10 lakh, I am receiving the 2 lakh rupees. So simple, this will be considered as a monetary grant. And this monetary grant is for the depreciable asset. And if any monetary grant is for the depreciable asset, then you are having a 2 choice. The amount of the grant will be deducted from the cost of the asset, and the number 2, that is nothing but the amount of the grant will be transferred to the deferred government grant. Whenever it is a story of the deferred government grant, then the balance of the deferred government grant should be transferred to P&L in the ratio of the depreciation. Clear? So let's start question number 19 answer. Okay. ABC Limited should recognize the grant in the following manner. As per AS12, government grant may take the form of the non-monetary asset such as the land or other resources given at a concessional rate. In these circumstances, it is usual to account for the such asset at their acquisition cost. Non-monetary asset given free of cost are recorded at a nominal value. Accordingly, the land should be recognized at a nominal value in the balance sheet. The standard provides option to treat the grant either as a deduction from the gross value of the asset or to treat it as a deferred income as per the provisions of the standard. Under the first method, the grant is shown as a deduction from the gross value of the asset concerned in arriving at its book value. The grant is thus recognized in the profit and loss statement over the useful life of the depreciable asset by way of a reduced depreciation charge. Accordingly, the grant of rupees 2 lakh is deducted from the cost of machinery. Machinery will be recognized at rupees 10 lakh minus 2 lakh is equal to 8 lakh, and the depreciation will be charged on it as follow: 8 lakh divided by 5 years, 1,60,000 per annum. Under the second method, the grant related to depreciable asset are treated as a deferred income, which is recognized in the profit and loss statement on a systematic basis and a rational basis over the useful life of the asset. Such allocation to the income is usually made over the period and in the proportion in which depreciation on the related asset is charged. Rupees 2 lakh should be recognized as a deferred income and will be transferred to the profit and loss over the useful life of the asset. In this case, 40,000 should be credited to profit and loss each year over the period of the 5 years. Now let's start the question number 19B, that is related to accounting standard 13. First of all, I am reading the question. Paridhi Electronics Limited invested in the share of the Dhansukh Limited on a 1st May 2020 at a cost of rupees 10 lakh. 3/4 of this investment were the current investment, and the remaining investment were intended to be held for a more than a year. The published accountant of the Deshmukh Limited received in January 2020 reveals that the company has incurred the cash losses with decline in the market share, and the investment of the Paridhi Electronics Limited may not fetch more than 7,50,000. The reduction in the value is apparent to be non-temporary. You are required to explain how you will deal with the above in the financial statement of the Paridhi Limited on 31st March 20 with reference to accounting standard 13. You know very well, as per the accounting standard 13, the long-term investments are valued at a cost, but the short-term investment is valued at a cost or NRV, whichever is lower. I have invested total 10 lakh rupees, but 3/4 are the current. So if it is a current, then simply it will be valued at a cost or NRV, whichever is lower. Remaining are the long-term, but that long-term investment and now the value is decreased, and the value is decreased, and that is a non-temporary. Whenever I am talking about it's a non-temporary, it's a permanent decrease. What accounting standard 13 suggests कि long-term investment is normally valued at cost, but अगर कोई long-term investment में अगर कोई permanent decrease आ रहा है तो उसका तो loss आपको record कर ही देना पड़ेगा. Clear? तो simple. अगर हम आंसर चेक करें, as per AS 13 accounting for the investment, carrying amount of the current investment is the lower of the cost and the fair value, but the long-term investment should be carried in the financial statement at a cost. However, provision for the diminution shall be made to recognize a decline other than temporary in the value of the investment, Such reduction being determined and made for each investment individually. The standard also states that indicators of the value of an investment are obtained by reference to its market value, the investee's assets and the result and expected cash flow from the investment. Paridhi Limited made 3/4 of rupees 10 lakh, that is rupees 7,50,000 as a current investment, and the remaining 2,50,000 as a long term. The facts of the case given in the question clearly suggest that the provision for the diminution should be made to reduce the carrying amount of the shares for the both category of the shares to bring them to market value. Hence, the carrying value of the investment shall be shown as the amount of rupees 7,50,000 in the financial statement for the year ended 31st March 2021 and charge the difference of rupees 2,50,000 in the profit and loss account. Clear? So simple. This question was related to question accounting standard 13. Just long-term investment is valued at a cost and the short-term is valued at a cost or NRV, whichever is lower. Perfect. Now the next question is question number 20A. When the capitalization of the borrowing cost should cease as per the accounting standard 16, explain in brief. You know very well there are 3 theoretical topics in accounting standard 16: commencement of capitalization, suspension of capitalization and the cessation of capitalization. You know very well when you should cease the capitalization of the borrowing cost in a 2 condition. When asset is ready to use, and the number 2, if borrowing cost is not being incurred. If you are fulfilling any of the 1 condition, after that you are not supposed to capitalize any of the borrowing cost. Clear? So let's read the answer of the 20A. Capitalization of the borrowing cost should cease when the substantially all the activities necessary to prepare the qualifying asset for its intended use or sale are complete. An asset is normally ready for its intended use or sale when its physical construction or the production is complete, even though routine administrative work might still continue. If minor modifications such as the decoration of a property to the user specification are all that are outstanding, this indicates that substantially all the activities are complete. When the construction of the qualifying asset is completed in parts and the completed part is capable of being used while the construction continues for the other parts, capitalization of the borrowing cost in relation to a part should cease when the substantially all the activities necessary to prepare that part is intended use or the sale are complete. Clear? Okay. Now sub question 2 of the question number 20. Shan Builders Limited has borrowed a sum of $10 lakh at the beginning of the financial year 2019-20. It's a residential project at a 4%. The interest is payable at the end of the financial year. At the time of the availment, exchange rate was 56 per US dollar and the rate as on 31st March 2020 at rupees 62 per US dollar. If Shan Builder Limited had borrowed the loan in India, then the Indian rupee equivalent, the pricing of the loan would have been 10.5%. You are required to compute the amount of the borrowing cost and the exchange difference for the year ending 31st March 2020 as per applicable accounting standard. Remember my paragraph 4E of accounting standard 16. We will solve this particular sum in a 3-step. Step number 1, we will calculate the interest cost if amount borrowed from the foreign country. In the step number 2, we will calculate the interest cost if amount borrowed in India. In step number 3, we will calculate the foreign exchange loss. The difference between the step 2 and the step 1 is considered as an interest and the remaining portion will be considered as a foreign exchange loss. Clear? So let's start. This is question number 20 and the sub question number B. Question 20B. Clear? Step 1. Interest expense if amount borrowed from foreign country. Can I say you have borrowed $10 lakh and that is at the rate of the 4% and you will make the payment of the interest on the last day and at that time your rate will be the 62. So 10 lakh into 4% means 40,000 and the 40,000 into 62, our answer will be rupees 24 lakh 80,000. Clear? This is step number 1. Next we will calculate step 2. And the step 2 will be interest expense if amount borrowed in India. Clear? So simple, we have borrowed total 10 lakh rupees, and at the time of the borrowing the exchange rate will be 56, and in India the interest rate will be the 10.5%. Take a calculation, 10 lakh into 56 into 10.5%, then your answer will be rupees 58,80,000. You know very well that borrowing is nothing but my foreign currency monetary item, and when the borrowing is nothing but a foreign currency monetary item on the balance sheet date, that every foreign currency monetary item will be converted at a closing rate. So simply step 3 and the step number 3 is nothing but foreign exchange loss. Clear? So $10 lakh in a bracket 62 minus 56, so your foreign exchange loss will be 60 lakh. But this entire will not be considered as a foreign exchange loss. We will categorize into the 2 parts. First of all, we will calculate step 2 minus step 1, and step 2 answer is 58,80,000, and the step 1 answer is nothing but 24,80,000. So can I say the net figure will be rupees 34 lakh, and this 34 lakh will be considered as borrowing cost as per accounting standard 16. Clear? Out of 60 lakh, 34 lakh will be considered this. So the remaining will be 26 lakh. And this 20 lakh is considered as foreign exchange loss as per accounting standard 11. Clear? So if you want to knowledge, then your total borrowing cost will be as per step number 1, your answer will be 24,80,000, and as per step number 3, the 34 lakh will be considered as a borrowing cost. So total borrowing cost will be considered as a 58,80,000. Clear? And then we will consider the total foreign exchange loss, and then your answer will be rupees 26 lakh. Clear? So friends, finally I am ending with the discussion related to the revision test paper of the May 21 attempt and the paper number 1 of the CA intermediate. Thank you friends. Thank you very much.